coming to St. Martha.
Is she pulling them from any other parishes?
We don't know that. I'm not sure. I couldn't say that for sure.
Some are.
Some are? Okay. So,
Because population-wise, this whole area, we're sort of landlocked, you know, in more growth population hasn't budged much in 40, 50 years.
that's true. But Morton Grove has done a great job of putting up community housing, you know, condos and townhouses, so that as people are aging out of single-family homes, they're able to age into something that's less maintenance.
It's a blessing for us.
Absolutely. So they've done a great job. And then having the train station here, you know, has been a big blessing too, because now we've got more of the commuters coming into Morton Grove as well.
Something that we've been reflecting on during my years here. The good thing, as you know, is if parishioners become empty nesters, they don't have to move out of the parish because of the condos. And the question was, but will all of those Catholic households be replaced with Catholic households? Probably not. And when I first came, as you know, there were hardly any children here. So it's been really exciting the last couple of years because there are a number of families with a lot of little kids, which in the parish council we've been saying, we got to do something for them because they're coming. And that bingo in January was remarkable for the amount of parent involvement. And it has a lot to do with people being glad to work with Liz, but a lot of those kids are from here. And if that keeps going, that could be really good for us.
And some of the expenses, where you asked for some insights.
Uh-huh.
You know, we know what top line revenue is, but what are the expenses? If you have a parish that has $1 million worth of expenses and have $1 million revenue, definitely might want to reevaluate.
Right.
So, I'd love some more insight into what's going on in the business world called EBITDA margin. So, I think that would be an insightful metric or KPI, performance indicator to have for each parish too as well.
Yeah,
I know it's not relevant in the future state because you're going to be reorganizing and consolidating and everything else, but it kind of gives it help. It helps. It's one more data point to help make some more informed decisions. And I do appreciate bringing up about how many Catholics are in some of these areas too, because we definitely want to make sure we're serving an appropriate area where there's, let's be honest, where the most Catholic people are living, because we need to service our audience. And I think that's where I'm sorry, I can't say the word, but that's where we can actually move the evangelization aspect of our religion.
I can, from the expense perspective, I can tell you that they're looking at ordinary operating expenses. So it's salaries, it's utilities, it's lawn maintenance, it's snow removal, it's...
And again, it would be helpful, like, well, what parish is currently underwater, Father Dennis did an excellent job, as you can tell, by looking at stuff regularly. But if there's parents underwater, it definitely would help me make a decision if I were in this.
Okay, so we can take that back and you know, take it back to the grouping team and say, we'd like to
Because
see
it's not necessarily
everybody's...
about how much you get until, it's about, I can really talk about it if I need to. What I was trying to add, what the question I asked is, it's great that they have in here how much people are putting into the basket each annual period. It'd be nice to know how much it costs to keep the parish up and running currently, because it helps in the decision-making factor. You definitely don't want a parish that's underwater, standing alone, so to speak. So I'm like, that would be a helpful deciding point. Now understand that when you reformulate these parishes, that deciding point it's not gonna trend in the future, because you're basically throwing the baby out with the bathwater, so to speak. And that's what I was asking about. It's like, is there a parish that costs like $5 million in salaries and they're only bringing in $1 million? You definitely wouldn't want that parish.
Closer to the mic.
I'm sorry. And so the idea is to look at the expenses as well as the revenue, and that's the important thing I was mostly trying to bring up. Because what we want to do is put more money aside for
Evangelization.
Evangelization. And I think that's the most important thing, that really what we need to be, that's where you want to put your money in for the long-term payout. And when
Particularly around Thanksgiving, the ecumenical work. And I don't know if we get extra points, but
they'll be made aware when they come here on the 15th, the different teams. One of the reasons we wanted to make sure they came is because not all of them knows what the Shrine of All Saints is. So we'll have the meeting right in the Shrine of All Saints. But part of the data that they're going to get is over 50 years of interfaith Thanksgiving services. And we're the only parish in the diocese that has Protestant, Catholic, and Orthodox all worshiping on the same campus. And so, and also, there are a number of non-Catholic Christians that have come in tour groups, Greek, Russian, Orthodox, Chaldean, Assyrian, Armenian, and they all want to come for the saints and for the relics. So yeah, we're certainly going to underline that because ecumenism is big.
That's certainly part of, that is certainly part of what could potentially be one of the, when we get to the building and the parish discussions, that's certainly one of the things that could happen.
Okay, so basically we could have.
They didn't hear the question.
And a pilgrimage and so forth, and yet the church itself would have to be together with other things.
Correct. Kathy was asking, can the shrine stay open but not the parish? So, and what would that mean? So the parish would merge with St. Isaac Jogues maybe, but the shrine would stay open as an active shrine.
Kathy, we discussed that in our grouping, that scenario of keeping the shrine open. I have been consistently saying I'm very impartial. I want the shrine to be open as independent because if it is merged with some other parish and the shrine is kept open, we are only looking for a natural death because the decision makers are somewhere else. How much anyone is going to consistently look out for the shrine, I don't know. So we have a conflict of interest over there. The pastor is going to be at that parish and not at the shrine. And they're not going, because of the lack of the priest in the diocese, they're not going to assign, maybe for a long term, a priest to stay right in the shrine itself, here, like Father Dennis. So what happens is, if we don't have the personnel, plus we don't have the resources to maintain the shrine, how long the shrine will last? Are we not looking for a natural death of the shrine after all this Father Dennis has done? So, that scenario we discussed already, but I'm of the opinion that if we have to keep the shrine, make shrine as an independent parish, that will give a lasting value for our shrine.
Business manager and Bill, our financial gentleman, can we have another scenario where we are self-sustaining? Do we have the finances to do that? Because the scenarios never gave us that choice of being an independent entity.
Correct. Bill?
We also have we didn't show those slides today, a huge decline in the number of parish priests, archdiocesan priests to pastor. And so when we merge these parishes, and I think the archdiocese would like to get this down to at least 3 parishes, probably 2, and maybe even 1 of the 5. And all the other groupings that are going on all around the archdiocese. If St. Martha's is part of a merger with other parishes, this building will be part of that merger. So we will be part of a new parish that will include people from another parish. They'll probably rename it, as they've done with some other parish mergers. Sacred Heart and St. Philip became Divine Mercy, and there are a number of other renamings. And so we'd be one parish. So we would have, if we're active Catholics in the new parish, as we are here, we will have influence on what happens to the shrine and what happens to that parish. So it's not like all of a sudden we're gonna be cut off from the shrine of St. Martha's is part of a grouping with one or more other parishes. Is that fair? So, I'm not worried about losing the shrine, because we're gonna be in the parish with the shrine here. The shrine is right here. And I think it's an important part. And as I was saying the other day, I was speaking from up there, even 1 or 2 feet, you get a better sense of the enormity of what's been put together by Father Dennis over the years. It's really quite an extraordinary collection. When you get up a couple of feet, you should stand up here and take a look at it. It's really extraordinary. But we will be part of another, probably renamed parish, if we're part of a grouping with, have a lot of excess money. We have some savings, but year in, year out, we're living close to hand to mouth. And without that endowment, we'd be precarious, particularly if we don't get everybody back after the pandemic clears up.
Thank you.
Just one other thing, that I just lost as I stood up. Don't get old. Regardless of how we reconfigure, all 5 parishes have been mandated in their scenarios to speak about the presence and the role of the Shrine of All Saints. So the parishes that are not united with us also are supposed to do the same thing. Figure out what ways that's going to be an evangelical tool for them too. And, I don't have any clout on this particular issue, but if we merge with other parishes, my first suggestion would be the new parish would be called All Saints, because all of the All Saints churches in the
Buildings will be closed. But there's a possibility that St. Martha's, in any of the scenarios, could remain open as a worship site. So we wouldn't need to worry about losing the shrine, because it'll be a parish church, even though it won't be St. Martha's, whatever the new name would be, and what it would be, but it would be a worship site. Also, Anna, when you were saying, could we make a scenario that's not here? Yes, and the Archdiocese encourages it. If you have an idea that's not one of these 5, go for it. Put it on your feedback form. Also, Lori did kind of indicate that some of these scenarios don't make sense. We decided as a group of the 5 parishes that we wanted our parishes to see all 5 scenarios. However, as a group, we pretty much decided there's 2 of them that are not financially, geographically, or otherwise sound. So when you're looking at these scenarios, look at number 3 and look at number 5. The group has already pretty much decided those are not sustainable. So that leaves you only 3 really to work with. So if you come up, if through divine providence you have some idea that you think is better, maybe leave St. Martin's stand alone, maybe have it, whatever you come up with, please put it on your feedback form. That's what the Archdiocese is looking for.
I think you can hear me. When I look at the map and I see that part of Skokie, I wonder what happened to St. Joan of Arc.
St. Joan of Arc is still open, but they're in a different grouping. So they're not included in our grouping. The only 2 parishes from Skokie that are included in our grouping is Lambert and St. Peter. We don't know why Lambert and Peter were separated from Joan of Arc, but Joan of Arc is separate. Joan of Arc is technically Evanston, correct?
I suggested the same thing, Jim. I said they belong together, the 3 of them, but technically they are Evanston. So
because of COVID. So some of the summer discoveries are still going on. We went to a meeting at St. Lambert's. We got to see the St. Lambert campus. We are hosting a meeting here on October 15th for the groupings. And then there are 2 more sessions available. So I suspect one will be at St. Peter's and one will be at St. Isaac Jogues. We've gone to a number of them at St. John Verbuck. So we're trying to get a chance to see the campuses. we strongly encourage you, can't find a mass here at St. Martha, try a different church, go see a different church, go see what it's like. I want you not to come to St. Martha, but we want you to go take a look and see what's being offered elsewhere. We're also talking about the groupings realities. Take a look at the October count, take a look at the revenue, take a look at, the amount of money that it's gonna take to make sure that the facilities serve the future. Keep in mind the foundational principles. So we're building communities, evangelizing, and working the mission. And what do we know from our lived experiences? So think about what's special about St. Martha. Why do you love coming here? Why do you feel, there's been a lot of conversation about the shrine. What can you put down on paper that's so really important about coming here, and how do you feel about the shrine? They want to know about our reality and our lived experiences here. So the groupings realities, school and religious ed enrollments, we talked about the fact that religious ed is way up and school enrollment right now is down. Building conditions and affordability, we talked about that. So these are the realities that you need to think about as you're doing your feedback forms. And we talked about questions. So the feedback forms, think about the scenarios, answer the questions, turn in your feedback forms. If you have time and you want to fill them out tonight, there's a basket up here, feel free. Otherwise, fill them out, drop them off at the rectory, email them, bring them to Mass on the weekend, but we need to have all of your feedback forms back by October 11th. We are getting together on the 12th. We've got to compile all of this information so that we can present it at our meeting on the 15th. So the more feedback we get from you guys, the better off we're going to be. So the scenarios, which best addresses the needs of our grouping. So again, if you look at, keep all that criteria in mind. Which scenario least addresses? So Peggy was already talking about scenario 5, how scenario 5 doesn't really accomplish anything because all it does is leave everybody hanging out there. And, again, we stay in maintenance mode. We have no extra money to do any extra ministry, to hire a youth director, to do anything else. Doesn't accomplish anything. So keep those in mind. And then what do you consider the biggest potential challenge? We were talking about demographics, and, diversity for us is a strength. So is diversity across the grouping as much a strength? We have lots and lots and lots of people coming together here at St. Martha. And every one of the parishes, St. John Rebuff has a huge Polish population, and St. Peter's has a huge Cuban population. St. Lambert's has a huge Cuban population. So there's lots of different ethnicity to take into consideration. And then the unrealistic demands on the clergy, and Bill was talking about that. We have to address the fact that over the next several years, 200 priests are going to be retiring. 200 of our priests are over now, over 70, and a couple over 80. So, 64 or something from the last slide that I remember. So we have to think about what are we going to do? And, vocations are just way down. So we can't, from a pastoral perspective, we can't support all the churches that we have today. So we have to find a different way. Please, please, please prayerfully consider these. Don't just think about what's good for us. We got to think about what's good for us, the 5 churches, not just us, St. Martha. And then we've got a few more meetings. We have 2 October meetings, 1 in November, and a writing team will put reports together from the 5 parishes in the grouping, which the writing team will be presenting to the renew my church committee at the Archdiocese, which then gets presented to the Presbyteral Council, and then it goes to the Cardinal. And we are still expecting decisions in January or February. St. Martha's isn't going anywhere. None of the changes will take effect until July of 2021, which doesn't mean that our doors are closing if we're merging, because there's all kinds of transition time that will need to take place. So we're not going anywhere for a while, folks. We're trying to figure out how to get mass back here in the big church, because we know everybody wants to come back to the big church. So, but I just want you to not worry about the doors closing and nobody telling you what's going on. And if no one else has any questions, I'm done. Alice? That's all right.
So you're doing an October count.
Uh-huh.
You're doing an October count during COVID-19.
So handling things the same way we are. If you go and there's space, they will let you in. Okay.
So people should visit like on October because they're going to school hard.
Oh, yeah, that's a good, yeah, Debbie said maybe not visit in October,
Don't do it
because we don't
during
want to
October.
lose the October count. We don't want you to be padding somebody else's October count and cutting into ours.
All of the figures that we're working with, we're all mindful of COVID, but the finances and everything else are from last year. They're all pre-COVID, because we can't really make judgments just based on COVID. What I was going to share with you is that I'm very aware that every time a parish closes, it kind of blows a hole in the collective subconscious of everybody in the diocese. When I was ordained, there were nearly 500 parishes, and we grew up identifying by neighborhood, as Laurie said, which parish you're from. And that for the older folks like me, that doesn't go away. But we've had waves of closing parishes, but because of all the reasons that we've given, but also the decreasing number of priests. And I put it in the bulletin, but just to underline, part of the reason we're having this discussion is that within 9 years, we will be down to 200 diocesan priests, because dinosaurs like me will be retired. And when I was ordained, there were about 38 ordained in 1973, and right now, we're averaging less than 10 every year. And I know that there are other reasons why we could have more priests, but we have to deal with what we have. And so if we don't reduce the number of parishes, we won't be able to have pastors for these churches. So there's that reality there.